Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Danielle Ibra. I'm the Director of Teacher Education here at Brandeis, and it is an absolute pleasure, delight to be here for this commencement, but also for the presentations that you're about to see of the students' research. The Master of Arts in Teaching at Brandeis is an intense 13-month full-time graduate program plus full-time teaching program that includes research. There is nothing more intense that you can imagine in a teacher ed program. And so I would say while we honor our graduates today, we really should be honoring all of the loved ones in their lives. If you supported them through this process and enabled them to get to this place, you should probably also be receiving a degree. So if we could take a moment to honor all the people who are And I have the pleasure and support of an amazing team with whom I work. Ari Levinson is our Director of Education at large of that whole education program. Rachel Theodoro directs the elementary wing of our program. Eileen Kell is in the back here and makes sure that everything that you're about to see is And I'll bet Manuel Juan is hiding. He's back there and he makes sure that the MAT runs smoothly from the beginning. Before I talk about the presentations that you're about to see, I want to take a moment to thank Ellen Alt and introduce her for the beautiful work that you've already seen on your way in, and that those are the conceptual and artistic pieces that you saw. So Ellen, if you'll come up and talk a little bit about that.
Hi. Imagination is more important than knowledge. For knowledge is limited to all we now know and understand, while imagination embraces the entire world and all there will ever be to know and understand. Albert Einstein. Art is a practice in exercising that imagination. You have to make something that doesn't yet exist. This practice is super useful in the classroom. It encourages your learners to solve problems as they arise. I messed up. This isn't right. I don't know what to do next. As your learners practice solving problems and take pride in their work, this process transfers to other subjects. This summer, students created a piece for themselves and for their classrooms to model this process. The results are on display. Please enjoy their very successful examples of creativity in action.
Now for what you're about to see. You will have, I hope, the pleasure of seeing our students present their teacher research projects. And I'll say, when I first came to Brandeis almost 2 years ago, I was a big champion of teacher research and a big skeptic of the fact that it could be done during the student-teacher year. As I said, the program is so intense anyway. To add another layer of research on top of it seemed crazy and impossible. And yet, when I saw the way that our Brandeis students do this, where they pick a research question that is deeply important to who they are as teachers and who their students are as learners, it enhances the work that they do in the classroom. It deepens that work, and you'll see how it deepens that thinking. For those of you who are not familiar with teacher research, and particularly qualitative research, to give you a bit of a background. So if quantitative research, that is research that's all about numbers and statistics, helps us understand big populations of students, qualitative research helps us understand a larger theoretical framework. So the presentations you're going to see today are not about implications for all 9th grade biology students across the country. But they will contribute to conversations that are incredibly important at the moment. They will tell small stories. This research was collected in a matter of weeks, but intensively. And by listening carefully to those stories, we can better understand the biggest questions in teaching and learning. How do we promote equity in classrooms? How do we give students voice while still sharing our own expertise? How do we help students think more deeply about the content that we are bringing them? Those are the big questions. And when I say that we're contributing to the conversation, I am fully aware that the conversation about education right now, particularly public education, is a little daunting. There's not a lot of confidence in what public education can do and be. And so when I say that we contribute to that conversation, I mean that we expand it, we enrich it, and we deepen it by doing teacher research in the same way that we hope to expand, enrich, and deepen the conversations in our classroom. This is our next generation of teachers, and I feel hopeful during a time that has not been so hopeful for education, that these incredible folks have chosen this direction to spend their lives, and it gives me hope for them, for their work, and for our future students. Please enjoy these presentations, brought with the support of the amazing teacher research instructor that we've had this year, Shanae. Led both the elementary and the secondary cohorts in developing their research questions. She met with each and every single student, sometimes multiple times, individually, as a group, to bring them through this process. And she has some words to share with you about what you're about to see.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So it has been my honor to serve as the instructor for the teacher research course. And before I provide some directions for this morning, I do want to give you a little bit more information on teacher research and the process of teacher research and what your children or siblings or friends did during the semester. So teacher research really positions teachers as professionals, as experts, as producers of knowledge. Teacher research is defined as the intentional, systematic inquiry by practitioners about aspects of practice that are made public. Okay, so teacher research is very intentional. Students take the time to really think deeply about their classroom context, and they come up with wonderings and questions that are relevant to their context. It is systematic, so it is planned. There is a process in place. And then the final part of it, like other research, is that it is made public. So in other words, it is shared, and today you will have the opportunity to hear the research presentations. So the process that students went through during the course was to first compose a question, or to identify a question that was relevant to their context. From there, they did a very brief literature review, so they investigated or explored literature related to their research questions. Then they came up with a plan. They identified data sources that they believe would be helpful to them in being able to answer their question. Next, they enacted that plan, okay? So they began to collect data. From there, they analyzed the data, and they reflected on the data, and were able to draw some conclusions about the data relevant to their research question. And then the very final part, again, of teacher research is the act of sharing it with an authentic audience. And they did all of this, as you heard, while student teaching, while in the classrooms 5 days a week, teaching multiple classes, also while taking multiple classes as well, in addition to my class. So we are so proud of the work that they've done, and we commend them and we celebrate with them for all the hard work that they've done this semester. So, directions for today. So as you notice from the schedule, students will be presenting in 2 rounds. So during the first round, there will be 3 presenters in the room, followed by a short break, and then the second round of presentations. And what we're asking you to do, just out of consideration for all of our presenters, whatever room you decide decide to go to for each round, we ask that you stay in that room for the entire time. You can imagine how disheartening or how disruptive it might be if you were to up and leave and there are still presenters left. So please stay in the same rooms. Also note that we will be recording each session, and so we ask that you are mindful of that. We ask you to turn off your cell phones. We ask that cell phones and technology are not a distraction during the presentation. Students will be presenting for 10 minutes, followed by a 5-minute Q&A, so we ask that you please wait until the Q&A portion to ask your questions. And we ask that you ask questions about process and about product, okay? So remember, this is the culmination of a very long process for the students, and we ask that you not use this as like a dissertation defense. You don't want to be intimidated by your questions, so please ask, good questions about the process of doing their research and their final products, okay? So that is how today will go, this morning will go, and so we ask that you, so Daniel will come back. Yep. Oh, so now we ask that you identify the rooms. The rooms are all, so one, this is Sherman Hall, so some of the presentations will be in here, and if you go out this door and then make a left,